walking in the mission footsteps of Blessed Basile Moreau.
Would love to welcome you here because this is where it all started. This is where it all began for the Congregation of Holy Cross. And we have the chance to have our founder here, buried here in the shrine. So his tomb is there. So we want to really welcome you to come here to discover about his life, to discover about Le Mans, to discover we have things, you know, that we take pilgrims to, his birthplace. It was right here that he was born, okay? His parents, so Louis had was a wine seller. He was selling wine in the countryside. And he also had a few fields and a few animals, for example, cows. Little Basile used to watch over the cows, all right? And then his mother was taking care of some vegetables and fruits and would maybe sell some of them. The place where he was ordained, the Cathedral of Le Mans, all of the places that he knew, that he worked at. And we would love to welcome you here, and so that you have the opportunity to pray at the foot of his tomb and to be with him, maybe have mass around his tomb. We do that when we have pilgrims, we say mass around his tomb, and to just see where it all started and what he was able to do with all his faith and hope in the cross. And we would really like to share that with you and to tell you all about what he did and how he did it, and that we can try to keep on doing the good he did.
To walk in faith, hope, and profound love. Born in post-revolutionary France, his life was rooted in prayer and driven by purpose to make God known, loved, and served.
And his concern was not for himself. His concern was for the congregation itself and for the life of the congregation.
Moreau's spirituality was anchored in 5 central pillars: hope in the cross of Christ, trust in divine providence, unity and communion, conformity to Christ, and zeal for mission. Inspired by the words of St. Gregory of Nyssa, a Christian ought to be another Jesus Christ. Blessed Moreau longed to be conformed to Christ in all things. He believed that true joy is found in living virtuously, loving generously, and surrendering to God's will. For Moreau, the cross was not an obstacle, but a path to joy, unspeakable advantage, he called it, a path to becoming like Christ, the crucified and risen Lord, as he often referred to our educational charism as the work of resurrection.
Because we see how many people he touched in the world, and he came from a very small village in a small department of France where there was nothing left because it was after revolution. And when we see what he has been able, just with his faith, to go through and to build and to, send people away all over the world to help other people. I mean, if we have that in mind, that we can do great things, even if we think we're little and we are not much, we can still make a lot of things. We can still transmit a lot of things, and I would say that's really important.
Trust in divine providence filled the heart of Father Moreau. In the humble, often unpredictable beginnings of the Congregation of Holy Cross, he saw the unmistakable hand of God.
If you visit churches in France, you will see that most of these churches are very poor. In the 19th century, and at Moreau's time also, They used to build a lot of very big churches in every village. Each church gets at least 300 seats, and that was big churches for big communities. And now, in the context of today, communities are very smaller than they were at Moreau's time. And it's a part of the story of Holy Cross also, because at the beginning of the life of Basile Moreau, the church was also very poor. After the French Revolution, the parishes, the communities used to lose a lot of their ways, and they finally had to rebuild the churches. They had to rebuild the communities. They had to form new priests. They had to reorganize all the life of the church. Basile Moreau contributed very much to this, and we are in another context. There was no revolution, but it was a kind of revolution. The 60s, 70s in France were a kind of cultural revolution, and the people get out of the church, and some of them lost their faith, and the communities are becoming more smaller, more older, and you will see some churches very dirty, very old, and not very well arranged. This is a picture, maybe of symbolic picture of what Basile Moreau did. He reorganized, he rebuilt, and he gave a renewal to the church's life. And we can see in a few communities a real renewal of the spirit of the communities, of the faith, of the involving of the people in the church life. And this is a very good sign of what is happening now in a lot of communities. And Holy Cross in France also is living his own renewal, his own revival. So I hope that the pilgrims who are coming in France will share this feeling and impression.
For Moreau, to trust in providence is to rest in God's keeping and to act with the courage that flows from faith. The end of the association is to work not only at one's own salvation and one's own sanctification with the help of God's grace, but also at the salvation and the perfection of others, preaching the word of God, especially in the countryside and foreign missions.
We had gone for an island from us called Thylop Island, and we are returning back from having experienced of Pentecost. We are in the deep sea. The waves are very high, but by the grace of God, we are just traveling back to Buka town.
Blessed Moreau believed deeply in communion. He modeled his vision of community life after the Holy Family, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, united not by status, but by heart. Through humility, patience, and charity, he urged all to build the family of God, bound in love. Writing a manuscript on Christian instruction and education of youth, which emphasized that Moreau's heart burned with zeal to share the gospel, to educate in faith, to sanctify souls. His mission was clear: to evangelize with courage and joy. For him, zeal is understood, that flame of burning desire which one feels to make God known, loved, and served, and thus save souls. This zeal drove him to send the first Holy Cross missionaries beyond France in 1840, planting seeds of hope across borders. In his sermon at the reception of Carmelites, he told them, "You must become identified with your model, not only becoming a faithful copy, but in some way becoming another Christ." That is what conformity to Christ meant for him. The year 2025, 185 years later, the Congregation of Holy Cross continues to walk in his footsteps. The Year of Mission, launched on April 28, 2025, marks a renewed commitment to the global mission, a mission of hope beyond borders, where we open ourselves to be inspired to love and care for those in most need with God's enablement of the living likeness of Jesus Christ. This year, our missionaries have arrived in Bougainville to establish the Holy Family Mission, bringing the love of Christ to new soil and to new hearts.
Dieu le Père Tout-Puissant, dans l'unité du Saint-Esprit. Toute honneur et toute gloire pour les siècles des siècles.
Now we are in Ivry-l'Évêque, the church you see behind me, the church of Ivry-l'Évêque. This belongs to diocesan clergy right now. Here Father Moreau came to celebrate Mass because the parish priest was sick in those days, and then he came to celebrate Mass for the next morning, and in that very night he had a severe stomach pain. He was feeling very bad. Despite his sickness, he celebrated Mass in the next morning, and he gave his last homily. So that was his last Mass and last homily he delivered in his life. And that right after Mass, he went back to Holy Cross Church, the Holy Cross community in Le Mans. Then Mother Superior said, "Father, you have to go to bed." Then after 25 years, he accepted to go to bed, because before that 25 years, you know very well, he refused to go to bed. He refused to take a bedroom with heater. So he wrote the constitutions, many writings. He meditated, he ate, sitting on a chair. That chair still Marianist Sisters museum we can see, a heritage room we can see. So Father Moreau went back to his house, and he lied in a bed, and after a few days, maybe 4 or 5 days, I can't tell you exactly, and he died. When he died, the Marianist sisters were surrounding his bed, and he gave his blessings for the sisters, and he said, "I bless for all my confreres, priests, brothers and sisters." So he gave his final blessing to his Holy Cross family.
I would say if you visit Holy Cross places in France, the first thing is you will give us some graces and some gifts, because when we receive visits of people from all around the world, it's a richness for us to welcome them and to understand that the spirit of Basile Moreau doesn't belong only to the people in France, but it's been spread on all the world, actually. And I get the chance to visit a lot of countries of Holy Cross, and I saw the spirit of Basile Moreau in very different cultures and very different contexts. But I would say also that if you visit the shrine, if you visit the Basile Moreau's places, and especially the birthplace, Lény-en-Belin, also Father Dujarrier's place, Ruillet, are different places where Basile Moreau did live and pray, and when he did some retreats to discern what the providence was asking him to do. I would say that you will put your steps in the steps of Basile Moreau. And it's not only a pilgrimage for your body, it's also a pilgrimage for your mind, because as you know, people like to go in Holy Land to be enhanced in their faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, because he lived in this place. So it's a kind of Holy Land for Holy Cross people, lay and religious. And when they come in France, I think that they have a better understanding of the life of Basile Moreau, of the different contexts he has to assume, and of the different contexts in which he had to assume his mission and his call, the call of the God. So it will be a better understanding, and also sharing with the people who are here. We have the chance in France to have very international communities, and it's a joy for us to welcome more and more confreres and lay people from all over the world who would like to spend some days in the steps of Basile Moreau.